I'm here to talk about linguistic landscape and competing language ideologies in Kurdistan, Iraq. I believe this talk will have implications for Kurdish in other parts of the world, but also for other minority language settings. So the ideologies that I will be talking about in the region range from regional nationalism, pan-Kurdish nationalism, linguistic rights, language internationalization, that is when it comes to English. But overall, the Iraqi Kurdistan, I believe, offers an opportunity to consider how the complex interrelationships amongst linguistic, political, historical, and sociocultural factors that cross sometimes national borders impinge on language management. So I will skip some of the slides I should mention now, but I'm hoping that you have the slides and you have the information. But because I have only 15 minutes, so I have to be very economical with it. The theoretical framework, you see them on your slides, so I don't have time to go through them, unfortunately. And then that goes also for methodological considerations. But what I can say here is that during 2012 and 2013, for about 9 months, I spent a great deal of my sabbatical in the region to do field work with respect to language policy planning in Iraqi Kurdistan. This is a map, a rough map of the greater Kurdistan, the great region where Kurdish varieties are spoken. So the green, light green section that you see, that represents Zazaki, and then the light blue represents Kurmanji. Then the part in the middle with those brown lines is supposed to be KRG, Kurdistan Regional Government of Iraq. You can see that Kurmanji is in the northern part, and in my talk I may refer to it just as Kurmanji or Badini or Behdinani, because the region is called Badinan. And then the light brown portion is Sorani. Then the small portion, small area is the Gorani or Haurami speaking area, and there is a smaller, yet smaller portion in Iraqi Kurdistan. The larger portion is in the eastern Kurdistan side, or the Iranian Kurdistan. And then the beige color in the very south portion of the map is the southern dialects. So I shall not go through this again, so I've already mentioned the minority, the dialect groups that exist there. And of course, in addition to those Kurdish dialect groups, we have Arabic in the region, in Iraqi Kurdistan, and also other minority languages such as Turkmani, Assyriac, Aramaic, and also neighboring states' languages such as Turkish and Persian, which one could hear on the streets of Soran, and Turkish mostly on street and road signage and companies. And also English is pretty much everywhere, one could suggest. A little bit of history. The dialect conflict really did not exist until the arrival of the British forces in Kurdistan, and that of course coincides with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. So like almost everywhere else in the world, one could say it's a product of modernity. So in Sulaimania in 1918, British, as early as 1819, start publishing a pamphlet, a periodical rather, called Tegeshtini Rasti, Understanding the Truth, in Sorani. In 1921, the Kingdom of Iraq is established under the British mandate. In 1932, Iraqi independence is considered by Britain. However, minorities refuse to go along with the plan unless their cultural and linguistic rights are recognized. This is why local languages law is enshrined in the Iraqi constitution, according to which Sorani-speaking regions can choose Sorani for to school their children, and also for some administrative activities. And Badinan is also given the option of choosing their own dialect. However, they decide to choose Arabic, and we have no time to go into this, but it's in itself a very interesting case. I have some references at the end which you could consult, especially the one, there is one by myself, 2012, and also one by Dr. Hassanpour, 2012, again about that situation. Between 1960s and 75, more language rights are granted to the Kurds, and here mostly we're talking about Sorani-speaking areas, really, because they have chosen to use their own language and utilize it. In 1958, Radio Baghdad carries radio programs in Badini, and some nationalists, Kurdish nationalists, see this as a tactic by Baghdad to divide the Kurds. Between 1961 and 75, when the rebellion in Iraqi Kurdistan is at its peak and very popular in the region, KDP, with its leadership being speakers of Kurmanji, of Badini, starts to use Badini in its broadcasting and publishing. However, it's just Sorani that continues to be standardized in the region. This brings us to 1992, when for the first time Kurdistan regional government in Iraq is established. According to the interim constitution of Kurdistan, Article 7, Kurdish shall be the official language of the Kurdistan region, and that includes the province of the Hook. Official correspondence with the federal and regional authorities shall be in both Arabic and Kurdish. The teaching of Arabic in the Kurdish region shall be compulsory, and perhaps more significantly, as it has been noted by other researchers, the Turkmani language and also Assyriac, Aramaic, and so-called non-Kurdish official non-Kurdish languages are given positive linguistic rights. This primarily means that their children to this day have the right to be educated in their mother tongue. They also have their own media in their own language, and also they can and they do conduct some of their businesses and administrative activities in their own languages. So the Hook, during this time, between 1990 to 94, children go to school in Sorani. So Sorani is the official language of the region, including the Hook. However, 1994, the civil war between KDP and PUK, things start to change in 1994. In 1996, KDP captures Erbil with the help of the central government, and it establishes its own KRG in Erbil. The Hoks Board of Education takes advantage of the opportunity and convinces KRG to grant them the right to have Badini as the medium of instruction from grade 1 to 3. This is how the Kurdish area in Iraq is divided at the time. So KDP is governing in the Erbil province, and also the Hook province, and also in the southern province of Suleymaniye, PUK is stationed. However, in 1998, there is a peace agreement signed with the help of Washington, and Badini speakers continue to push for more rights, but because now KRG is not solely run by KDP, but also by PUK, there is a joint parliament and government, KRG is reluctant to grant them more language rights. although they agreed to extend it to grade 6, but at the same time, in a memorandum, they asked that Badinan should also use Sorani, and also vice versa. The Sorani region should teach Badini. In 2005, 5 PhD students are denied to write their dissertation in Badini. In 2006, Hawrami speakers demand for mother tongue education, and many of these are people who live in diaspora who signed the petition. In 2008, the Hague demands to extend Badini as the sole medium of instruction to grade 7 to 12, basically secondary education, and also post-secondary education. But the request is denied. However, the Hague ignores what KRG decides to do. They go their own way, and they make, by 2013, they make Badini the sole medium of instruction in all levels of school, including universities. The 5 PhD students managed to write their dissertation in Badini. In fact, I had the pleasure of being on the defense committee of one of them in 2013 in Sorani University. Hawrami speakers continue to be denied positive rights, perhaps for a very simple reason. They do not have the same political leverage and influence that the KDP or Sorani speaking have. The current situation, English now is also in the picture. There are lots of, perhaps about a dozen private schools with English as their medium of instruction. There are also several universities with the same situation. Also, there are universities, including Soran University and the Hague University, which have programs that use English as their medium of instruction. For example, sociology department in Soran University and poli-sci, I believe, in the Hague University. So there are some people who have suggested, since Kurds cannot decide on one dialect to be official, you can't have two because that divides the nation, as the argument goes. Thus, let's settle for English. This is one side of the story. The other side is that right now there is a bill in the process of being drafted that suggests English at least should be one of the official languages of the region. So by way of conclusion, let me say this. In any linguistic landscape, it is always possible to have a new language whose speakers no longer wish to have their speech remain a dialect. Nowadays, minorities are much more aware of their distinct identities and rights, and they have more means to amplify their voices and concerns. Thus, language policies should not be imposed, but achieved through consensus, and there is need for a sociolinguistic approach rather than engineering language from above. Language ideologies often are not about speech varieties as linguistic systems, but about the speakers of those varieties. Thus, along parallel to sociolinguistic analyses and research, language policy and planning should also involve attempts to change attitudes of different linguistic groups towards each other, and that also certainly applies to Iraqi Kurdistan. And finally, successful language policy planning need to be designed around 4 objectives: recognizing that language is a constituent of nation building, that is the instrumental function of language; considering the primacy of language as a central element of identity, that's the representational aspect of language; and then also acknowledging the importance of language and linguistic rights, something that is almost impossible to ignore these days, because, as I said, minorities, at least for one thing, minorities are pretty much, very much aware of this right. And then also appreciating language diversity should be promoted and acknowledged by all sides. Thank you very much. I'm hoping to be online when the symposium takes place, so that I could answer any questions that you might have. Thank you very much for having me again.